Hey everyone, welcome to the level 170 gear guide for PvP for every school. In this video, I will be showing you guys the meta sets for every school. Now keep in mind, there are about like 2 to 3 different sets per school, but I'm going to try and show you guys the most accessible ones. Obviously, raid gear is a pretty big issue for the barrier to entry in PvP, so I will be trying to not show sets that are just basically all raid gear. However, some of them are very, heavily reliant on raid gear, unfortunately. But I can safely say all of these sets in this video, I have at least hit 1800, 1900, or 2000 rank with on all schools. So they are really good sets and you can compete at a very high level with them. So without further ado, let's get into things right away, starting off with Storm. Now, I'm going to go through the storm stats here really quick. You have your HP cap, which is 10.4, which is really good. Basically your damage cap, which is 207, which is really good. Your dual school is amazing. You can power ice, storm, life, and fire spells, which is very important, and we'll get into that in a moment here. Your crit and block are kind of bad, but unfortunately, because Storm's stat burden isn't really accounted for, you can't really get good crit or block without giving up all your stats, and that's kind of an issue Storm has right now, is you can't really get good stats. Like, you can't heal while dual schooling, right? You can't get good damage, pierce, and health while keeping crit and block, unlike other schools can, right? So that kind of is a thing. Then we have 50-50 P-Serve chance, 4-piece Shad, which is still meta, good pips, good arch mastery, and all that, pierce cap, all that stuff. So, basically, pros and cons about the setup is you're basically hitting all of your caps. Your resist is bad, yes, but you have to keep in mind 5 out of 7 schools pierce all of your resist, so it doesn't do anything in the first place because the game is just not balanced. But when it does matter is when you actually go for shields, right? Because their pierce will soak up into the shield. So having about 30 to 40 resist, I'd say, is the minimum you want on a storm for like having a shield up. Anything lower than that or running 0 is just not worth packing shields at that point. But because of the state of the game right now, you kind of have to shield in some scenarios, so you do want to have some resist behind you. And just as a general philosophy as well, running healing on a storm isn't always the greatest idea because the counters obviously kick Storm's ass. So with the setup, you have more agency and a lot more freedom and a lot less risk with things, and you can obviously counter things as well, which is great. So this is the gear I am running. I'll just quickly scroll through it. If you guys have any questions about where I got this gear in the comments below, please let me know. I will answer to the best of my ability. I've tried to re-record this video like 8 times, but it's just so long, so I'm just trying to speed run through it, so forgive me for that. Alright, next up we have the fire. Now, fire actually has some pretty decent stats, I would say, with the current meta build. It's a little weird, I'm not gonna lie, but with fire, you have about 11k health, which honestly is pretty standard, decent, not bad at all. Pretty much your damage cap as well, which is not 195. With really good dual school, pretty much perfect dual school, which is amazing. You have 59 resist when your cap is 60, so unlike Storm, not all the schools are able to pierce you. Pretty much about 3 out of the 7 are, compared to Storm's 5 out of 7 schools. So basically on a fire, most of the time open hits you do have resist, which is really good, and hits through shields are not going to do a whole lot to you, which is great. Now, the accuracy part is kind of where it gets weird. So fire has really good dual school accuracy to Storm with a free pin that they typically invest into ice. Now, I will explain to you why they do this. And also they have 29 accuracy, not 30. And the reason people run this build is simply because you can't really get a lot of good stats on a fire that give you max accuracy without giving up something for it. So as we go through the stat profile here, you're gonna see my crit and block are pretty good. My pierce is insane. Obviously you can't really heal well on a fire. P-serve, 50-50, really good shad, everything, right? So really good stats, and the only thing I give up really is that 1% fizzle chance on a shad. But players run this specific set of accuracy and stuff like that because fire can counter a lot if they do storm and ice duel. So if you do ice duel, You can Snowman, which is really good, and you can Frost Giant, which is also really good. And if you run Storm, you can counter Dots and you can counter Hots. So basically on a fire, you're covering almost all your bases with this dual school. This is the setup I am running right now, so feel free to copy it. Again, this is pretty much what 90% of the fires run right now in the queue. No one's really been able to make a better set because it's just very hard, right? If you want to make your stats better, you have to give up your dual school. But if you give up the dual school, then you're going to lose a lot more matchups, right? So Fire, like Storm, kind of shares the same issue where it's like it's hard to get stats and you have to dual school or you'll lose. But the more defensive schools you'll see down the list here, they can keep their damage resist caps while maintaining that dual school, which is what makes them really good in the meta. Alright, so next up we are on the Ice. Now, my Ice has 14,000 health, which is really good. 176 damage, which is pretty much at the damage cap as well. 80 resist, which is pretty good on an Ice. It's not low, it's not high, it's just kind of somewhere in the middle. And 80 resist in general is really good. When you stack it on top of a brace, you're basically immune as well, right? Then we have a dual school to Fire. You run Fire to counter shields and counter traps on an Ice, which are two very important things to do right now in the meta. Your crit is kind of low, I want to say, and your block is pretty high. 46 Pierce, which is really good on an Ice, pretty much the cap once again. 88% P-Serve, 4 P-Shad, really good pips, and Arch Mastery. Now, this is the setup I am running at the moment. I am missing my sword pins, so you'll probably have like 20 Pierce to fire and like 100 damage to fire once it's said and done. But I have the Wastelander hat, Hunhao robe, Shababa boots, Hunhao wand, Reaver theme. Then I have the Hunhao amulet. Now, one thing I will recommend changing or doing is running the library amulet instead, and then substituting the deck for the Dark Surge deck. Now, unfortunately, I do not have this. I've opened up many packs, done many runs of the library gauntlet, but I did not get it. So, if you get this amulet, essentially, you'll get 1 or 2 more resist, and you'll also get like a brace item card and like I think an elemental blade or something. So definitely get that library amulet if you can. But if you don't want to get that, you could run Hunhao or you could run the Stocky amulet. They're both not bad at all either. Then we have the Skyfarer's band or the Master band. Then we have a triple double blimp pet with the Clockwork Courser and the Stalker deck currently. Again, I'd recommend running the Dark Surge deck and the Library Amulet if you can to be as efficient as possible on the Ice. Alright, so next up we have the bounce setup. Now, real quick before I get into this, I just want to say if you queue bounce right now in the current state of the game, I do not like you. Anyways, this is the bounce setup right now. There is another one that has a lot of excessive raid gear in it, but I'm not going to be showing that one. And it does have its cons as well. So I'd recommend this one or that raid gear one, but I don't have that raid gear one, so that's okay. But basically, this is the bounce setup right now. So you have almost 13k health, which honestly is really solid. You're nearly at the damage cap, which is 190. And then you have 73 resist as well, which is really solid. And you have a dual school to Storm. Then you also have insane crit and block. And I am missing my Clockwork Courser right now. So you will be at 56 Pierce, which I believe is also your cap. Really good stuff there. 83% P-Serve, 4 Shad, and 99% pip chance. Now, this setup is really good because you're basically just hitting all your caps pretty much. You're nearly at your health cap, your damage cap, your assist cap, right? You are at your pierce cap as well. And then you keep your crit block, you keep a dual school, good P-Serve. It's all just really, really good on a balance. So with this setup, you run the Wastelander hat, you run the Hunhao robe, you run the Shababa boots, you run the Hunhao wand for 170, the Reaver knife, the library amulet, the Reaver ring, and then you have a double Mighty Breaker pet on the Dark Pact pet. Very important. Then you have a Clockwork Courser, which I am missing, and the Dark Surge deck right here, as you can see. Alright, so next up we are on the Demonic School of Myth. So Myth, you have about the same health as a Fire, which honestly isn't terrible. You have a really good dual school, and really good damage as well. You have a little bit lower damage than a fire, but that's okay because you have way more assists than them, so it kind of makes up for it, right? You have accuracy to fire. I would recommend storm, but it did just get nerfed, so it doesn't really matter. And perfect accuracy to myth, which is great. Pretty good crit. Block is okay. Really good dual school pierce. 63 pierce as well, which is insane. That's only like 1 or 2 below your cap. And then 4-piece shad. P-serve is kind of low, but doesn't really matter on a myth. And then really good pip chance. So basically, you are hitting your pierce cap nearly your damage cap, really good resist. I'd say the only bad thing about myth is it's kind of difficult to dual school with storm and fire. You could make it work by running like a frill pet and stuff like that, but I prefer the bubble pet personally because it's just really important on a myth, in my opinion. But we are running the Wastelander hat with fire pins, of course. Hunhow robe. It's really nice because you get that extra Stone Colossus tier 5 item card, which is great. Jabalba boots as well. Jabalba sword, amazing. Library amulet, it's also nice to have that brace and that spirit trap as well. Skyfare's band, double Mighty Breaker on the pet with a bubble. And then Clockwork Courser, and obviously the Dark Surge deck. Next up, we are on the Death. So my Death has 12,000 health, which is really good. 199 damage, which is nearly the cap as well. 73 resist, which is really good. And then I have dual school to fire, and you will have dual school to ice as well. I am missing 2 pins for that, so really good accuracy to ice and fire. You can't fizzle them. Then we have really good crit and really good block, and you will have 2 more pierce. I'm just missing my Clockwork Courser at the moment, so add 2 on right there. 50-50 chance to P-serve, but not like you really do it that much on a death anyways. 4-piece shad, really good pips, and arch mastery. So yeah, again, you're just trying to cover a lot of bases, dual schooling with the ice and the fire here, and we are nearly hitting our HP, damage, resist, caps, all that good stuff. So the setup I'm running right now is the Wastelander hat with fire pins. Then on the robe, I have Hunhow. I will recommend having the ice accuracy pins right here. That will boost you to 23 accuracy, which is obviously really great for you. Then I have Shabubba boots right here with the 160. This is very important. The 160 Shabalba sword. Now the reason you run this over the 171 simply is because you want the health boost right here. Without the health boost, you're kind of just having mid stats. It's not really worth it, you know. Then we have the Reaver knife, we have the Hunhow amulet, we have the Skyfare's band or Malister band. Then we have this pet right here on a Gloomy Goatling. This pet is just really good generally because chromatic weaknesses are very overvalued right now in the meta, but they are going to be getting nerfed probably pretty soon. That has been on the devs list for a while, so if this does end up getting nerfed in the next couple of months or like the fall update, I'd probably recommend making a frill pet and changing the set around a little bit. Then of course you'll have the Clockwork Courser and obviously the Dark Surge deck. Finally, we have the Life Wizard. Now, the Life has some pretty good stats, and I'm going to explain why. I have about 15k health on my Life, which is insane. I'm at the damage cap. I have 73 resist on a Life, which is nuts. I have a dual school to ice, which is insane as well. Crit is a little low, but the block is really good. I'm at the pierce cap, which is amazing. I have incredible outgoing. P-serve is 50-50. Now, I would recommend getting the Hunhow wand, but I don't have it right now, unfortunately. But you could still get far with a 50-50 P-serve on a Life, I would have to say. Then we have 4-piece shad, 99% pips, and arch mastery. So, basically, the only flaw in this setup is the fact of the matter that I can't dual school with 2 schools, and I have 99 pip chance. So essentially, I am running the Shabalba hat with outgoing, I'm running the Hunhow stuff with obviously ice pins, Stalker boots as well right here for that outgoing slot. Then I have the 160 Shabalba wand for that big HP boost like I mentioned in the death spot. If you could get the Hunhow 170 wand, I would recommend that. It's really good. It will boost your P-serve to like 90%. Quite insane. Then I have the Reaver knife. Now you could run the Jababa one. It's also really good. It's really just preference. Then we have the Hunhow amulet with the Skyfire's band. And then we have a double mighty breaker pet on the Lumi. Now I would recommend the Dark Pact pet personally. Reason being, over time, like Burrowing Bane is kind of meta right now on a life, and that is better than having a fuel. So I'd recommend running that if you can, but if you have a Lumi pet, that's just fine. Clockwork Courser, and obviously the Dark Surge deck. And yeah, I mean, that's everything for the video, guys. If you have any questions, let me know down there in the comments below. I will answer them to the best of my ability. And if this video was useful at all, consider leaving a like and a sub. I probably will make this into a playlist on, like, you know, teaching PvP, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching this far, and take care, guys.